Hello friends! Today we are still doing projects. Today's project is backing a quilt. Am I an experienced quilter? No. Is this the most correct way to back a quilt? Also no. But it is probably one of the easiest ways that you can finish a quilt. All straight lines. I don't think that you need any fancy equipment or specialized material to do it, just your regular needles, safety pins, and batting. Please keep in mind if you have any constructive criticism or unique little ways that you like quilting, leave them below, and let's get to it.
Okay, so we have our quilt top laying down on the floor. This is not a standard size quilt top because it is made from just little scrappy bits of fabric that I picked up from the thrift store, from antique mall estate sale type deals, and just general places where people thought, I'm never going to use this fabric, this is scraps, I'm going to throw it away or give it to somebody, and I say give it to me. Since it isn't a standard size quilt, we have to figure out what size of batting that we need to use. So I have unfolded the sheet of batting, and we are going to align corner to corner, giving maybe 2 inches of seam binding room on the quilt top. Then I'm going to fold the batting over itself to have a double layer of batting. Once again, leaving maybe 2 inches of seam binding room where the foldy bit is. Then we are going to trim off the excess batting to use on another quilt. And yes, I am acutely aware that I cut that batting out slightly crooked. We are using this as a learning opportunity. Then we are going to safety pin the batting to the quilt top, once again keeping that 2 inches of wiggle room so that we can seam bind. The next day I ironed out the cut of white sheet that we are using as our backing fabric. Once again, this is a secondhand sheet that I got from Goodwill. I aligned the quilt top in the corners with the backing fabric and safety pinned along the edges so I know accurately where I need to cut off the excess backing. I feel like it was a pretty lucky find because the rip that was in the sheet was actually just slightly out of the way that it wouldn't be part of what I would need to back the quilt with. So, yay. So after all the edges are safety pinned together, we're just going to cut off that excess. I want to quilt through by stitching a line every 2 squares. I'm rolling up the edge of the quilt a little bit so that I can get the needle in that position. And I'm just going to do a stitch in the ditch. Once again, just sewing a straight line. Super simple, super easy, and I feel like it's a great way to practice sewing accuracy because I feel like that's something that I need to work on. Also, I am choosing to sew on the hardwood floor so that the quilt slides without the added friction of maybe falling slightly off a tabletop and having to go over the edge. I'm just hoping that that allows it a slightly smoother surface to glide across, but that does also come with the added consequence, you're in a very awkward sitting position for a while. After you are done with the first row, roll up to the second row to repeat 3 more times. In my experience, this is enough stitching to keep the batting in place while exuding minimal effort and maintaining maximum quilt puffiness. Now, after all that batting is sewn in place, we are removing these safety pins and folding in the edge of the quilt top by 1 inch, maybe a 1/2 inch, and pinning that down. Then we are going to do the same thing to the quilt back, folding that in a 1/2 inch so it's all just smushy sandwiched all together. And behold, we have a pin in the middle of each square and where each square meets, and that goes all around the whole quilt. Then we just sew around all the edges and everything will be all sandwichy sewn together without any need for bias binding cutting or any other sort of fancy edge work. You just sew in straight lines, turning at each corner and sewing straight lines again. Caveat, I did run out of bobbin thread, so that is not really surprising when making a quilt, but hey, I only sewed without a bobbin for like 3 inches. Disaster avoided. After all that was sewn around, I just left a little bit of room to tie off the threads into 2 little knots and then cut off the excess thread. So here is the finished project, a nice, fluffy, comfy, cozy quilt.
Well, here you have it. This is the finished product. Oh, it kind of matches my shirt too. That's cute. I didn't anticipate that. But thank you so much for watching. If you have any ideas for organizations that auction off homemade goods to charity, organizations that would appreciate like giving somebody a homemade quilt, I would really appreciate that. I think that I might donate this one to a Project Zero birthday party. Project Zero is an organization in Arkansas that tries to find permanent homes for adoptable children in foster care. So I feel like it might be a nice way to show a little bit of love to somebody that might not feel like they have a lot of support and love in their life. Oh, I forgot to mention, I have another quilt that I need to back. So if you like this kind of video, please let me know if you would like me to try to implement what I've learned by backing this like little Easter eggy colored patchy quilt. That didn't go very far. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Please list any questions, comments, or concerns down below. New videos come up on Mondays, maybe one on Thursday. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye! Do you like this? Do you like this?